Hey everyone, it's Allie and welcome to my channel, and today I am so excited because I am going to be unboxing a lot of books. A lot of books. Okay, so I have been holding on to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boxes of books from various places. We've got Book of the Month, Amazon, as well as my absolute favorite book outlet. I haven't opened any of them because I thought it could be fun to unbox them here with you guys so you can see where I got each book. Basically, I had this list of books that I was on the lookout for, either at thrift stores or on Book Outlet or whatever, for a while. Some of them I've seen praised a lot on Book YouTube and Book Talk and everything, and other ones I just personally want to read a lot. But these books that I'm going to be showing you are basically going to be my fall TBR. My two favorite genres at the moment are probably thrillers and historical fiction. So you are going to see a lot of those in this haul. And I feel like for thrillers especially, fall is a great time of year to read them, super cozy. So I am like itching to dive into so many of these books. So without further ado, let's go ahead and open the first box, which is from Book of the Month. I wish I could go in and say, this video is sponsored by Book of the Month. Unfortunately, not yet, maybe in the future, because I do really love Book of the Month services. I don't get it every month, and in fact I have skipped it probably for the last 3 months or so, and then this one is from August, and I'll probably skip for the next few, but we'll kind of see what they're offering. But yeah, overall I do feel like Book of the Month is usually a pretty good deal. I do try to, look various places, look on Amazon, look at half-price books, whatever, to see if I can get the books at a cheaper price. But a lot of times they will have early release books, so I've got that a few times. And it's just fun. It's fun to get a little bit of book mail, even if you are spending a couple extra dollars. The good thing too about this unboxing is, even though I know obviously everything that I ordered, it has been probably about a month, nearing a month, since I placed my last order, so I do kind of forget what came in each box, so it's a little bit of a surprise for me. So this was the actual August 2023 Book of the Month that I chose. This is a thriller by Lisa Joel. It is None of This Is True. And I think maybe I've read like one book from her before, but as I said, I'm in my thriller era. I feel like I've heard pretty good things about this book, and the cover definitely drew me into this one too. And just quickly, the tagline is, when a famous podcaster interviews a stranger promising to divulge the story of a lifetime, secrets emerge that threaten to expose the truth of the lives they've both worked hard to project and protect. In the last few years, I've definitely seen a rise of thrillers talking about true crime podcasters, and I think that's fun because I definitely love a true crime podcast myself, and that's going to actually pop up later in this haul. And then this one was not an August Book of the Month, but you can do add-ons with Book of the Month. I think maybe this was from like June or July of this year, but I've heard such good things, and I mean, what a cover. I absolutely love it. This is Riley Sager's The Only One Left, and this is the first book that I will have read from this author, so I'm very excited about that. But I think I'm gonna love this because it looks like it's set in both 1929 and 1983. So this one might be a perfect book for me, part thriller, part historical fiction, and part gorgeous, so we love it. Next up, we will start going through these Amazon orders. And a lot of these books, I won't go through all the prices individually, but a lot of them I got for right around $10, and I do always price compare. And even with half-price books, the prices were either pretty much exactly the same, or sometimes even a little bit worse at half-price books. So even though I am a huge advocate for shopping secondhand whenever possible, both for the environment and for your wallet, sometimes, honestly, the cheaper option is buying brand new with Amazon, so that's just kind of the way it goes. And I'm pretty sure that all the books that I got from Amazon are in brand new condition, but they do have a really nice used book selection on Amazon too. where you can get books for like $4 or $5. So that's a great option as well. I've definitely done that in the past. You end up with a lot of like library books and things like that. Okay, so first up is The Housemaid's Secret by Frida McFadden. And this is the second book in the Housemaid series, and I haven't read that one yet. It is in another one of these Amazon boxes, so kind of unfortunate that this one popped up first. I've heard amazing things about this series. I don't know how many books are going to be in it when it's all said and done, but right now 2 are out. So yeah, even though I hadn't read the first one, I decided to just pick up both of them at the same time because I'm very much assuming that I am going to really like these books. So just a blurb from the book. It says, "Don't go in the guest bedroom. A shadow falls on Douglas Garrick's face as he touches the door with his fingertips. My wife, she's very ill. As he continues showing me their incredible penthouse apartment, I have a terrible feeling about the woman behind closed doors. But I can't risk losing this job, not if I want to keep my darkest secrets safe." And then next up is one that has been on my list for the last several years. This is The Starless Sea, and this is by Erin Morgenstern, who wrote The Night Circus. I would highly, highly recommend that book to anyone who enjoys fantasy and just a dang good novel. So I'm absolutely hoping for great things from The Starless Sea as well. Another really beautiful cover. And when I was placing this kind of big fall order for books, even though I am quite heavy with the thrillers in this haul because I love to read them during this time of year, I did want to make sure I did have some fantasy, some historical fiction in there as well as at least one memoir too, just to kind of break things up because I don't want to put myself in a reading rut. This is absolutely top of my list. I'm going to throw this historical fiction novel in amongst the thrillers. This is The Crimson Thread by Kate Forsyth. She is absolutely one of my favorite authors, probably top 5 to be honest. And the thing that Kate Forsyth does in a lot of her books is that she ties in fairy tales with historical fiction. So I read one book by her that was based more on the lives of the Grimm brothers. I read another one that followed Rapunzel, both the story of Rapunzel as well as the woman who wrote the original Rapunzel story. And I find I just learned so much about these different periods in time from these books, and I also just absolutely love her writing style. So this one is set in 1941, but I believe it ties in Greek mythology. So very, very excited to read this, but would highly recommend this author. Now let's open our second box of Amazon books. I did actually place just one really big order. They just came separately, of course. Here's a nonfiction to break up everything else. This one I am very, very much looking forward to. This is by David Grann, who wrote Killers of the Flower Moon, which I've heard great things about. I think it did quite well on the charts, so I might have to look into that one after I finish this if I like it. But this is The Wager, a tale of shipwreck, mutiny, and murder. So this is a nonfiction book, but I read that it reads like a novel, and it is set in 1742, and I believe it covers like pirate ships and stuff like that. So I think this is going to be so interesting. I can feel like I'm learning something like with the Kate Forsyth books, but like I said, I've heard that this very much just reads like a good novel. Here we have The Housemaid. That is the first one in the series that I was talking about earlier by Frida McFadden. And so it sounds like just from this little blurb on the back that she is kind of working for a different family in this book. So maybe all of the different books will be the main character, or maybe there's multiple characters in different books. I don't know. But it sounds basically like housemaids working for families with secrets, and that definitely sounds very interesting to me. And I love how pretty of an eye they gave the person. Next we have Too Late by Colleen Hoover. I have read a few books by Colleen Hoover, but if you guys are not new to my channel, you know I'm not much of a romance girly, and I have pretty much decided that unless I'm like really in the mood for a rom-com type romance, which I definitely am certain times of the year, like Christmas time, I do like a little wintry romance. I'm not gonna force myself to read books just because other people talk about them a lot or other people really like them. I feel that pressure a little bit since I am creating booktube content, but I feel like my reviews are not necessarily helpful to you guys in that category because rom-com books are just never going to be my favorites. So you're not going to see a lot of those in here, but the reason I'm saying all this is because Colleen Hoover is a very popular romance writer, and I do think she's one of the best. She writes a really good story, and I especially loved all your perfects. It's a very moving book, definitely less like graphic romance and much more marriage issues, fertility issues, just kind of a good story in that way. So yeah, even though I don't love romance, I do think Colleen Hoover is worth the hype and she's a great author. But this one, I believe, is a little bit more of a thriller. I'm sure there's going to be romance in here, but it seems like this is going to be kind of in a similar vein of her book Verity, which I did really like. Romance, but also a lot of thriller. Okay, so now we're coming back to talking about podcasts, true crime podcasts. This has been on my list for quite a while. This is All Good People Here by Miss Ashley Flowers. And Ashley Flowers is actually the host of the very, very popular true crime podcast Crime Junkies, which is one of my personal favorites. My family and I, my husband and I, we tend to listen to that as we are going on road trips. But I've heard that she is a good writer, which is not surprising to me because of course she writes a good script for her podcast. But I'm real curious to see how well she can kind of make up a story. But I'm guessing very well, just based on all of her experience in researching crimes. And now, of course, I had to get it, and this did take me a while to get, The Fourth Wing, and it's a beautiful book, I gotta say, and I'm real excited to read it. I feel like people either absolutely love this book or they're like, not that much. So I'm trying not to go into it expecting to absolutely love it. I'm just hoping to enjoy the story and then we'll kind of see how it goes. And the good thing is, I know that her second book in this series is already coming out, I think, in November. This one was just released this year, so that is quite quick. So if I do like this one, I'll definitely pre-order the second one so I can make sure I don't have to wait months and months like I did for this one. Now we have The Bullet That Missed, and this is a Thursday Murder Club mystery book by Richard Osman. Hopefully I didn't screw this up, but I'm pretty sure this is the third book in the series, and this one is actually quite short. But I did read the first two and I did like it a lot. I will not say that the mystery was like the best I ever read. I would recommend reading these books if you like more of a cozy mystery, if you like more kind of humor in your stories, if you like good characters. So basically in these stories, it's a group of older people who have formed this kind of like murder mystery club, and of course they get wrapped up in true crime. And this guy, Richard Osman, is actually a British comedian, I'm pretty sure, and I do really like British comedy. So if you like kind of like dry wit humor, good characters, a little bit of crime, I would very much recommend this series. And I think the fourth one is either out or coming out during the fall season. This one I'm so excited to read. This is absolutely top of my list. This is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And this has been out for a couple years at least. Yeah, it looks like this came out in 2020. And I think I kind of just missed it when it came out. It wasn't really on my radar. But the movie is coming out later this year and it looks very good and I absolutely want to read the book before I watch the movie. And I did like the Hunger Games series. I actually, kind of unpopular opinion, I kind of liked the movies better than the books, especially the third one. But this one looks really good, kind of a prequel and nice and thick. It will break up the thrillers a little bit. So I'm eager to read this one. Maybe I'll even do a video where I read the book and go see the movie in the same video. Last from this little box is the Dictionary of Lost Words. And it looks like this was actually a Reese Witherspoon book club pick, and I have been reading a lot of her picks over the last few months. This one is another one I think will just break up the thrillers quite nicely. It's kind of been on my radar for a while. This character, Esme, realizes that words and meanings relating to women's and common folks' experiences often go unrecorded, and so she begins to search out words for her own dictionary, the Dictionary of Lost Words. So she kind of ventures out of her university atmosphere and meets people who would give her this vocabulary. So this isn't really what I thought it was about at all, but it sounds like it will be pretty good. One more little box here before we get into the book outlet picks. I think this is just another one from Amazon. This is the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. Just another one that I had in my notes section for quite a while. I'd been on the lookout for it, haven't been able to find it, so just pulled the trigger and got it from Amazon. This one just sounds so intriguing to me. It says, at a masquerade ball thrown by her parents at their English country house. I absolutely love that setting. Evelyn Hardcastle will die. She will die every day until Aidan Bishop can identify who murdered her and stop the killer. Every day Aidan wakes up in the body of a different guest. So this sounds like it's gonna be a really good one, gonna be fast-paced. I do really like thrillers that are told from different perspectives, and that kind of sounds like what it's gonna feel like, even though it's the same guy but different bodies. So as I'm going through these, definitely let me know down in the comments if you've read any of these books before. I absolutely want to hear your opinions, and if you are liking the video so far, please make sure to give me a big thumbs up and consider subscribing. It really does help my channel out quite a lot. Now we have our Book Outlet books. Love Book Outlet. You can find a fair amount of hauls here on my channel. It's just such a great way to get new books for a really great price, honestly. A lot of their books are about $5, even hardbacks. They have sales all the time. Not sponsored, of course, but I do think it is one of the best ways you can get new books. And a lot of times they actually have quite recent books because it seems like it's overflow from like Target, Costco, places like that. But they do sell out fairly quickly, and I placed this order probably almost 2 months ago now at this point. So can't guarantee all the ones you're gonna see for the rest of the video are still available on Book Outlet, but I would recommend checking quite often. And I'm sure there's some really good ones on there right now that I wasn't able to get when I placed my order. I have put myself on a bit of a book buying ban where I'm not gonna be placing any big orders until December, where I'll probably just go on Book Outlet and get some cozy ones for that month. But if I stumble into a bookstore, it's like illegal not to get a book. First from Book Outlet, we have You by Caroline Kepnes. And You, if you're not familiar, is a very popular series on Netflix. I would highly recommend. I still actually have to watch the second half of the new season. I just kind of missed it when it came out, but it's a very, very good series. I'm interested to see how this book is. I'm guessing it's just kind of like the first season, but I'm expecting this book to be pretty good, and I'm hoping that I really like the writing style and I can look out for this author more in the future. But if you're unfamiliar with that story, it's basically like this really charming, handsome guy who is not who he appears. And there's a lot of inner dialogue in the show, so I'm guessing it will actually be a lot of like direct quotes from the book. Here we have The Haunting of Maddie Clare, and this is by Simone St. James. And I actually have this book as well, the Book of Cold Cases, that I've been waiting to read until the fall. So I'll be reading both of those books during this fall season. So not quite sure if I really like this author yet or not, but when I saw it for a great price on Book Outlet, I decided to just go ahead and pick it up. And this is a very Halloween-y looking book. And I think I'm gonna do maybe like a week of reading spooky reads leading up to Halloween. So definitely let me know if you are interested in that, or just interested in more like read with me kind of vlogs in the future. But this is set in 1920s England. Love that as well. It says, Sarah Piper's lonely, threadbare existence changes when her temporary agency sends her to assist an obsessed ghost hunter. So it sounds a bit dark, might not be the best read for everybody, but we'll just kind of see how this goes. Next we have Lucy Foley's The Paris Apartment. I did really enjoy the guest list, which was a Reese's Book Club pick. So I have been on the lookout for The Paris Apartment. Again, just got it for about $5 on Book Outlet. And it looks like it follows the residents of like an apartment building, and they're all kind of these different personalities. Says everyone's a neighbor, everyone's a suspect, and everyone knows something they're not telling. See you in Paris. Sounds great. I think she pretty much always writes from multiple perspectives, which, as I said, I really do enjoy in a thriller. This is The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. Says author of A Dark, Dark Wood, which I did read, and I very much enjoyed that one. That book I felt was quite well written a little bit better than some other thrillers that I've read recently. And so I feel like in my head, Ruth Ware has kind of become an auto-buy author if I can find her books for a good price. And so it's kind of nice to find an author like that where you can go back and read books that they wrote years and years ago. This is one I heard a lot of good things about last fall and I just didn't get it. This is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. And I think this is like a bit of a romance, so it'll be nice to throw that in here. But it also, of course, is very fitting with the season. And I did actually read a book by her last year. I think it was called something Briar. I'll put the title on the screen, and I really liked it. I think it was a pretty different genre than this. That was like very fantastical, and this is more like fantastical as well, but more like romance. But I really liked her writing style, so when I heard that people liked this book, I absolutely knew that I wanted to pick it up. Last in that box we have Stephen King's The Gunslinger, which is the Dark Tower one, and I have been collecting these Dark Tower books, just like if I find them at the thrift store or whatever, but I hadn't yet found the first one, so I couldn't start the series, but I did find it on Book Outlet, of course. And this is a pretty short book. I know a lot of people really love this series, and I've heard this is a good series to read from Stephen King if you don't love like super dark horror, as I don't really love, but he can write. He writes super well. So I have been on the lookout for some of his lighter-ish reads. One more box from Book Outlet. Thank you guys for sticking with me if you're still watching. This one I think I'm gonna love. Sorry for saying that so often, but of course I did pick up all these books for a reason. But this is Five Survive by Holly Jackson, and she wrote a series that you might have heard of called A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I read those books end of last year, maybe beginning of this year, I don't even know. They are young adult kind of mystery thriller books. The Good Girl's Guide to Murder series follows this Nancy Drew type of chick, and I just felt like they were really engaging and there was great character development. I very much enjoyed the story. I'm hoping that they make it like a mini series or movie series in the future. And this book did come out last year and I just didn't pick it up. It's not connected, I don't believe, to the Good Girl's Guide to Murder universe, but again, I really liked Holly Jackson's writing style, and I've heard good things about this one. It sounds like 6 friends are on a road trip and they have some issues, and only 5 make it out. So I guess that's gonna be a big part of the story. Who is gonna be the person that doesn't survive the night? Another thriller, this is Mr. Nobody by Catherine Steadman. And I very recently read another book by Catherine Steadman, Something in the Water, and I definitely enjoyed it enough to be on the lookout for more books from her. And I think there was maybe even another one by her on Book Outlet, but I decided to just pick one. I got this one. But this author is an actress as well. She was in Downton Abbey and I think a lot of other different television shows, and I can say that she is an actress who can write, so that's always great to see. Just a few more. This is a historical fiction novel. This is Diane Chamberlain's The Last House on the Street, and I've only read one by Chamberlain and I really enjoyed it, and she's an author that I know has quite a collection of stories that I am gonna get to at some point. But she writes books that are set in 2 different time periods a lot, which is my favorite. So this is split between 1965 and then 2010, which might be when this book was written, to be honest. So it sounds like in 1965, Ellie is kind of expected to do the typical women things of that time. She's a Southern lady, but instead she really wants to fight for civil rights. And then she's also a character in the 2010 setting, and Ellie's neighbor, it sounds like, is kind of finding out her secrets. Another Reese's Book Club pick. She does have good taste, I gotta say. This is Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. It says, how do you stop a murder after it's already happened? So that sounds kind of interesting. It's set in late October, so I'll have to hold out and read it then. I love when you can read a book during the time period when it's set, but I feel like a lot of people read this one. I heard a lot of good things about it, but I just never got around to it. Another YA kind of thriller. This is Karen McManus's Nothing More to Tell, and I have read a few from this author. I read, I think, the first 2 books from the One of Us is Lying series, and then I did read another standalone one from her last year. I don't expect to be absolutely blown away by this one, but I feel like I usually give her books like between a 4 and a 4.5. Just a great quick read, easy read. This one, on the other hand, might be a little bit darker, although YA thrillers can get kind of dark. But this is The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. And I did recently read another one by him that was absolutely horrifying. It was about like puppets and things like that coming to life. And I don't love that, but I decided to give him one more shot because I did think that book was very well written, and I have heard good things about this one specifically. But he's a bit more of a horror writer than just thriller. So yeah, one more shot, but if this one is too dark for me as well, or just too creepy, I will probably not be getting any more from him. But yeah, he is definitely very popular amongst people who like horror books. Just a couple more. This is The Unsinkable Greta James by Jennifer E. Smith. It says, an indie musician reeling from tragedy and a public breakdown reconnects with her father on a week-long cruise in this soul-stirring novel from best-selling author Jennifer E. Smith. So this will be a good break from some of these other books. Maybe not the best time of year to read this one, but it had been on my list, saw it on Outlet, and absolutely wanted to get it for a good price. And last but certainly not least, we have Madly Deeply, The Diaries of Alan Rickman. The actor Alan Rickman, one of the greatest, he has sadly passed away. And I don't know, I wonder if he would have liked these all to be published. It's like literally his diaries, which is very intriguing to me. But I also, do wonder if he would have wanted these to be published if he was still alive. But again, I think this will be a nice break from the thrillers. And I also do have a lot of other memoirs on my shelf that I am going to try to get to over the next few months as well. For me, fall and winter are very heavy reading months. I'm trying to stay off social media almost completely, unless I'm like going to post on there, trying to stay off YouTube a bit more as well, and just spend more of my free time reading. And I do find a lot of these thrillers are pretty quick reads as well. But again, let me know down below if you've read any of these books, what you think of them. Hopefully some of them you can add to your own TBR list. And thank you so much again for watching. I really, really do appreciate your support, and I hope to see you around for upcoming videos.